Hello and welcome to Methoday's training course on getting to know your musical symbols, video number 6. Today we are talking about time signatures. This video is designed to just give you the basic idea of what time signatures are used for when you're reading and composing music. Time signatures are basically what they say. You're measuring a time within that piece of music that you're allotted to play a certain amount or certain number of beats within that measure. So say for instance, if you have the numbers 3/4. Now if you see this on your musical scale, you'll notice that there's numbers. So say for the top number, which is 3, represents how many beats are in that bar. The number 4 represents the measures or the symbols that represent how many beats can be played within that particular measure. So it's the type of beat. So now you know that if you have a bar that has 3 beats but it has 4 notes, then you're starting to see how this plays out. So just to give you a simple idea, say for instance you have $1. You know that in that $1 you can fit 4 quarters that can equal $1. So that kind of gives you a basic idea of how symbols and music come together to represent time signatures, or how much time, how many notes you can fit within that time signature. Now that is a simple time signature because you know that in that time slot you can take those 2 quarters and get 50 cents to represent 2 notes. So when you talk about dividing and subdividing and categorizing, that can give you an idea of what a simple time signature is. Now when you talk about compound time signatures, then you go a little bit complex. So say for instance you have 6 beats and 8 notes that represent those 6 beats within that measure. Then you know that out of those 8 notes, you can split those notes into 3 groups and be able to still be able to get the measure and the time within that slot just by using 3 groups of notes. So say for instance if you have a bunch of 8 quarter notes all on that beat, then you can split those, you can divide those 8 notes into 3 subdivisions or 3 groups of notes. So now you're starting to see how this comes together. All it is basically telling you is that time can be measured in a musical piece, and within that time slot there's a specific amount of beats and a specific number of notes that could be used. I'm sure you're starting to get the idea. So these symbols represent how these pieces are played, just to give you a basic idea of how to understand time signatures and what they're used for. Then you have the common time, which is 4/4. It's basically simplifying that you have 4 beats and 4 notes that represents those beats. Simply just using the dollar analogy. 4 quarters represent $1. Out of that $1, you can only get 4 quarters. You can get 100 pennies, or you can get a certain amount of nickels and dimes. So now you're starting to see that in those, if you take the notes and you put them in the same category of nickels and dimes and quarters, then you'll start to understand how these pieces come together to get you to understand how much time you have to play within that musical piece on that musical composition. Then you have the alla breve, or the cut time, which is 2/2. And it's funny because the alla breve looks like a cent sign. So 2/2 is basically what it says. You have 2 beats and you have to have a note that represents that can only give you the amount of sounds that you can get out of those 2 beats, which are 2 half notes, which represents to get you the notes that you need within those 2 beats. So now you're starting to see how this comes together. So if you have 2 half notes, then you know that out of those 2 half notes they equal 1 note. So if you put 4 half notes together, then you can get 2 beats. So it comes together once you start to practice it and you start to understand how things in music have to make sense and how those noises and those sounds can be organized within the piece. Now when you talk about the metronome mark, the metronome in music is a measure that gives the musician an idea of the tempo, or how or what pace to play the music at. So a metronome is a bunch of ticks that go fast or slow, giving the musician an idea of the impressions to put out when playing the sounds. So a metronome is used just for that purpose, to give the musician a way to implement the sounds that are played within the musical piece, especially when they want to compose their own tempos in their own piece. I hope you get something out of this lesson. It was only designed to give you an idea so you can get comfortable with understanding the languages and the symbols when learning how to read sheet music. There are plenty of courses on YouTube to learn and how to be able to identify the symbols, but this course was basically designed to give you an idea of how time signatures come together when reading and understanding sheet music. I want to thank you so much for tuning into our YouTube channel. Please don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to go to our website and sponsor, method8inc.com, method8inc.com. Any sponsorship over $10 gets you a free Method 8 product or anything on our website, whether it's books, movies, or something that we've produced ourselves. You want to support our team at the Academy. I want to thank you so much for tuning into our channel. And yes, as usual, I cheated. I read it from a script. Thank you so much, and I am going to edit some more videos. Have a good day.